Yeah. So I guess there's some woo-woo advice for you at the end. If you really feel like you've got absolutely nothing in your corner, nothing to live for, nothing to be loved or have love, just remember that there is life that is still worth living. Even if that is a single life, petless and relationshipless, there is still a beautiful life to have lived. And you know what? It's hard. It's hard to have that mentality that you can be happy and fulfilled on your own. And I'm still trying to debunk that for sure. I'm trying to stand corrected in my preconceived thoughts that I've had my entire life, that I will be sad and lonely if I don't have a person or a pet, a thing. But you can still have a beautiful life that is worth living if you don't have those things. This is Single and Probably Asexual with Kendra K. Wow. Look what we have here. Hi, how are you? I am back. Man, it's been a little bit of a hiatus, and I have my reasonings, of course, but I appreciate everybody who has remained a podcast fan. Well, a podcast fan of my podcast and podcast fans in general. But I'm just really appreciative of those who have continued to reach out to me and tell me how they love the podcast. They relate to things that I say, which is amazing and beautiful. And it has definitely been in the back of my mind for these past several months. And that noise to record again was only getting louder and louder, probably around February, March. But you know me. I'm going to come back when I'm ready. And I'm ready. And ironically enough, as true Kendra fashion, Gemini scattered brain fashion, who knows, I really wanted to put this episode out during May because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Am I aware that it is May 31st? 100%. But hey, I'm here. So I did it and I'm proud of that. But I really wanted to come back and share what I've been doing, what I've been up to, where my brain has been at, where my mental health has been at, where I've been at these past several months. And it was important for me to do that during May. And it was also my birthday month. So shenanigans got ahead of me, and procrastination for me kind of always wins. But again, it's the 31st of May and I'm here. So I'm happy. My hope moving forward is that we will continue back to our regularly programmed schedule with consistent episodes coming from me, myself, and I, and some interviewers. I'm excited to interview some more people, and we will have more of those in the future for sure. As of right now, I am just going to try to come back here and just keep up with the consistency. Every other week, I will share an episode, and if it's just, a few episodes of just me speaking for a while, then so be it. But I'm really going to try and come back and be consistent with this and take some more time out of my day to do research on other topics, things pertaining being asexual or worldwide stuff going on right now that maybe pertains to, being queer. I don't know. But I plan to do more of that research and come with more knowledge-based information for y'all. Of course, mixed with my own perception and interpretation on things. So that's a win-win, right? But again, if you like this podcast, or if you just don't mind listening to my voice, and if you feel like you would also want to be on the podcast yourself, reach out to me. I've got a little questionnaire form ready to send. And once I get that questionnaire form back from you, it'll kind of better help me plan out our interview and our call and our recording for this podcast. And I would be honored and thrilled and so excited. I've got a couple people who have filled out this questionnaire, and I just need to now get back to them because bless their hearts, they did it months ago and I have been MIA. But I plan to get back to doing that and reaching out to those people and scheduling those interviews. But if you yourself are interested or ever want to be on the podcast, please, please, please reach out. All right, moving on. I want to preface this episode by saying I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff that I have been dealing with lately and a lot of, things that I have felt in my body, my brain, with myself. I will be very open and sharing the struggles that I have been going through recently. And I might get emotional. Actually, chances are 99.9% sure I will start to cry. If you have already noticed, I chose not to video myself this episode just for that reason. I think it's just going to help me ease back into this as well. But I will probably cry. I will probably say things and you will think, my God, is she okay? And I just want to let you know that I am. Taking that break was very necessary for me. And had I been as active in my business or with this podcast those past several months, it wouldn't have gone well for me. And I felt that calling and that need to just kind of pack it all away, not packing feelings away, but kind of like packing away the thought that I still needed to be the face of my Instagram and my business and this podcast, and just kind of realizing, you know what? I need space and time from it all. And I took it, and it was necessary. It was insanely necessary for me to take that space. And I'm sitting here today, definitely a different person than I was, September of last year. But I also have a lot of growing left to do and a lot of nurturing and showing myself even more love and kindness than I've ever had to do before. And I understand I still have that around the corner. And I'm not coming here saying, oh, I've taken 9 months off. Listen to my, my brilliance or my wisdom. I am not going to be spitting a lot of brilliance here today. I am just probably going to be spitting a lot of grief that I have felt, things that I have been doing in my own life to help me get better. But just know that I'm okay. I've actually been better than I have before in a long time. I've got a support system. I've got people who are very close in close proximity to me here in Bellingham that I see and that I hang out with and that I love. And I'm doing a whole hell of a lot better than I was 9 months ago, than I even was 3 months ago. So I just want to preface by saying that and just understand that my vulnerability on here is not a cry for help. I've got my people. My parents also at the end of the day are my number ones, and I have them to rely on. I'm doing fine. And I know that might sound scary saying that in the preface, but just I want you all to know that I'm going to be very, very open and vulnerable in this episode, which I always do. And if I start crying and if you start feeling for me, and know that I'm okay. All right, now with that cryptic segue out of the way, what have I been doing? What the fuck has been going on with me since like July of last year? Well, where to begin? I guess the first thing I will start off with saying is I've never dealt with this much stress and sadness and just overall feelings of uncertainty and feeling, quite frankly, very fearful every day for the future, for my life, everything. I've never felt this intense than these past 8 months, which again, maybe makes sense why I was kind of off the grid for a little bit. But in September, I had to rehome my dog, Zeke. which I know you all know about because I've been speaking about him since day one. And if you have been here since day one, then you'll understand that that was hard. It still is very hard. The decision was not easy. And as you can tell, I still get very emotional about it. Thankfully, my dog is with my parents. They live in Iowa, so I haven't seen him since I dropped, him off with them. But I have peace knowing that he is well loved with my parents. And for anybody who is curious and is thinking, how could you rehome such a precious angel like that? He has the worst allergies ever. And again, if you know me or have listened to day one of this podcast, you know that I also have the worst allergies ever. So unfortunately, we were too similar, we were really too similar. He had the worst allergies ever, and so did I. And when I made the realization after eliminating a whole bunch of other things out of my life and trying to think, it's not him, it's not this, it's got to be something else. I realized every time I come home, my breathing, it was hard to breathe, and my breathing was really short. He couldn't sleep in the bed with me anymore, which broke my heart. And I just was like, I can't live like this anymore. I have to take care of my health. Like, I absolutely have to be able to come home and be able to breathe. So, had I had any other symptoms, allergy-wise, say a runny nose, itchy eyes, stuffy nose, rashes, anything else, I would have kept him. But you can't fuck with your breathing. And I've fucked with my breathing a lot over my lifetime. I, smoke weed, and I used to smoke cigarettes. My lungs are a sensitive part of my body because I am a Gemini. If you don't understand, it's okay. If you want to roll your eyes, that's fine. But that's a thing in my life, is my breath, and I can't fuck around with it. So, I had to rehome him. And it's been September. I mean, God, I feel like it's almost been a full year now. And it's still absolutely fucking terrible. So, after going through that, I was dealing with, ironically, getting off of my antidepressants at the same time. This was not a choice for me whatsoever at all. I did not want to get off my antidepressants, but as someone who works for themselves and has to provide their own health insurance, that health insurance isn't the best. And I was working with a company that just had a high turnover of therapists and medicational therapists, and I was speaking to a lot of different people, a lot. And through my intense grief of losing Zeke, I realized that I was running low on my medication. And so I reached out to my doctors, and they informed me that I couldn't get on their schedule to talk about getting just another refill of my prescription that I had been on for years at this point. Also confusing. And they weren't able to get me in for a prescription refill for like a month. So I was off my meds for a month. And by the time they said, we can get you in, like, are you still okay to have this call? I backed out of it. And that was a big choice for me to do because I was already at a state feeling emotionally, mentally, and physically just fucked and drained. And so that was a really big decision. That was a really big decision. And it still is a big decision that I'm not on medication today. But I did say to myself, if I do want to get back on meds, I know that I can, and I know that that's okay. And I will find someone local to where I am living now up in Bellingham that can help me and assist me with that. So I've had that in the back of my head, and I am a proactive enough person to not just let myself spiral in a way of, feeling out of control or out of touch with my mental health or my depression. Yeah. the only reason that I am still not on antidepressants today is because I have supplemented it, so to speak, with microdosing psilocybin. And had I not been doing that, I probably would not. I would not be recording this podcast right now. I'd probably be in a deep depression on the couch still. But the only reason I am not on medication right now is because I have other medication that I am using and that I'm kind of trying out and testing out and seeing if that will help with my depression and my anxiety, and also just kind of navigating me through this time of loss and sadness, Small little tidbits that were also kind of adding a lot of stress to me. I was still dealing with an insane amount of debt from my van. I still had my van. It had to go back to a mechanic office, of course. And, I was just kind of at my wit's end with that. But thankfully, finally, I got my van back in February. I put it on Facebook Marketplace in March, and I sold it at the beginning of April. So that's been a huge relief to kind of have that gone, because it was such a big stress, especially for me at the end. It was a little bittersweet because, of course, I spent years dreaming of that van. I spent years saving for it. I spent years executing it, years building it, years living in it. It was also a strong connection and tie to Zeke too. So that was a lot. It was hard to kind of say goodbye to him and then have to say goodbye to that van a few short months later. But all necessary. I was able to get out of an insane amount of credit card debt, which is just amazing. That was a huge stress for me. Because also financially, I just was not doing well last year. And actually, funny enough, all of my work that I had booked last year were friends or previous clients of mine, or friends of a friend of a friend. There was connection. It just wasn't someone who just found me on Google, because I really wasn't marketing myself last year, and I really just wasn't in it last year and at the beginning of this year, and things had been very bad for me financially. So when I sold the van, it was at that last fucking minute that I needed to sell it before I was about to lose my mind or just go into continued further debt. Most people listening might have some credit card debt or severe credit card debt, and you understand that the interest rates and those interest fees that you get every month are debilitating. So for me, when I was bringing in absolutely nothing, having to combat these credit card bills every month due to the mechanic issues I had with my van, it was a lot. But I've been moving through everything, and some days have been a whole lot easier than most. And I've been having a lot of realizations. I've been connecting to myself a lot more through not being on my medication and solely doing kind of like a holistic, antidepressant sort of routine right now that I'm doing with psilocybin. I have really, really, really been able to feel. And I was always great at feeling before. Me crying when something was rough or hard, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But now I just feel like I'm a sponge of emotion. Like, my friend just gave birth to her son, and we were talking about the symbolism of her having her son on Mother's Day. And I wept alongside her. And normally I don't get emotional like that. I don't get emotional at weddings. I don't get emotional even if I have a friend crying in front of me. Of course, sometimes that can really trigger you, and you can cry as well. And I do that. But all that to be said, me not being on medicine right now has made me realize that I think / for sure know that medication was just flatlining me. And I know that because I've already been on SSRIs before. The first time I ever got on them was when I was 17 years old. I'm 32 now. I just turned 32 a week ago. So I know meds, and my parents have both been on medication. My cousins have been on medication, and I have just several friends who are on medication, and it's great because meds are great, and it's a chemical imbalance, and we need help. I can't just function as a person if I don't have help. And again, the only reason I'm not on SSRIs right now is because I have help with the psilocybin. Had I not been on it, I would have found a therapist and a medical doctor months ago and got myself back on medication, because that's what it is. It is a chemical imbalance, and there's no shame to being on meds. But me personally, having experience for over a decade now being on medication, and also knowing my mother very well, obviously, and hearing her experience a long time ago when she was on meds for about 14 years, she said she never had any high emotions or low emotions. She was always just very content. And she described it as flatlined. And that's how I felt too. That's how I would feel when I was on them. But, and I guess people who are on medication, they can probably really understand this. Being on the medication was better for me than to not have all of these feelings that I am feeling now. Being flatlined and feeling content in your emotional state, nothing exceeding but nothing really decreasing past that contentness, for the longest time was better for me than not being on medication. And that sucks because you kind of have to, it's like you have to take that gamble when you're on medication. So for me, in my brain, I would kind of, speak out loud to myself. So it's okay, Kendra, you're on medication, but you can't feel exuberance, and you can't feel your deep, sad feelings when you want to or when you need to. But on the other hand, you felt good enough to a point every single day where you could get yourself up out of bed, do the work that you needed to do, take yourself on a walk, nourish yourself, hang out and reach out to people when you needed help and support. Sometimes you just got to take that when you can. And I understand that medication is that for people, and it is that for me as well. Again, I would not be on SSRIs right now had I not been on have I not been on psilocybin. But I am on psilocybin right now, and I have been microdosing. And if anyone wants to learn more about that or know more about that, please reach out. Feel free to. I'm happy to chat about it. But I'll keep it just brief on the podcast. But it's definitely worked wonders for me. And it's something that I always wanted to try. I just never financially was at the point where I could, have the psilocybin / for the psilocybin to try that extensively. So now that I am equipped and I have the stuff and I've got the goods, so to speak, I have been consistently microdosing, and it's definitely been good. It's been good. It's still really recent. My consistency with it has been really recent. I was just kind of doing it when I felt like I needed to do it before. And then I realized that was not working for me. The SADs were creeping up, and I was like, oof, these are not the good feelings. And so I started to become a little bit more consistent with it, which it's been great. But going back to feeling, I was completely stripped away recently. I felt my identity of who I was, van life photographer, dog mom, Seattleite, all these, I've been stripped, and I've been raw, and I've been having big realizations and big thoughts, and just trying to make good decisions for myself mentally for the future. And being on the psilocybin right now is highly, highly beneficial for me. Had I not, I would be on medicine right now. And who knows? I might be on medicine again in the future, but you know what? That is okay. But for me personally right now, being in such a raw state in my life while also in tandem not being on SSRIs for the first time in a long time. Whew, I can't even really describe it to you, but I feel like there is some secret fucking power that I have right now. And I say that only because for the first time in my life, I can really feel my emotions. And that Pisces moon is coming in fucking strong. She's coming in like a goddamn Leo, a lion ready to just sit and cry. And I've never, again, I'm a highly emotional person. I've always been, but I've never been so quick to feel that sadness and express that in a way that comes naturally, which is tears and crying. And I say I feel like I have some sort of superpower right now because of the fact that I can feel. I know I just said that, I'm repeating myself, but you know me, I don't edit a podcast. We're good. We're here. But I feel like I've got this weird superpower right now because I feel like I can almost change my life in the way that I've always wanted to, or at least guide me to that next phase of life that I've always wanted to get to. And I feel like I'm only going to be able to do that because I can feel my feelings now. And that realization for me happened pretty recently. I'd say like a month or 2 months ago, because I just had noticed that I was emotional. And then I thought to myself, I got to get back on medication. Wait, let's just do consistent microdosing for now and then see. And then as I've been consistently microdosing and feeling good and, being able to wake up, wanting to go outside and, wanting to see people, I understand that I'm being taken care of in that way that SSRIs always did for me in that capacity. But with the added openness of being able to feel and cry, I just feel like that is going to help harness me to the person that I know that I need to be for myself for the future. And fuck, that's powerful. I don't think I felt that power in myself and with my future and my capabilities of getting myself to where I want in my future, and just where I want as in just like, I just want to have a happy, joyous Kendra who is just exuberant and loving life and wants to live life. That having that power, it's really inspiring and scary, but it's also super potent in my life right now. And I feel that I just got to keep feeling. And those feels are going to lead me right where I need to be. And maybe for the first time ever, I'll be led there because I'm not blocked in that way. From trying to do my due diligence about just being better for myself. Alongside the microdosing, I've been upping my vitamins. I take ashwagandha every day, B12, B complex, and lion's mane. And a lot of that stuff is really good for your mood, cognitive health. So with my consistency with all of these things, I feel like I've been good, at least good for now. And hey, that's a huge win. That is a ginormous win for me. And before I wrap up here, I just kind of wanted to hop on and just give you a little brief what I've been doing, where I've been at, sort of thing. And here's your moment of maybe inspiration that you can take away from what I'm about to say. But recently, going through all of these insane stressors in my life, again, as you know, if you have followed me along for a while or you've listened to all of this podcast, it's in the title, single, probably asexual. My whole reasoning for getting a dog was to help combat the feeling of loneliness that I would have often. Because, me, I'm not a relationship person, and I never have been, and I have been perpetually single all of my life. And I thought, finally, I don't have to be alone. I don't have to be alone. I can have a dog. And now I can't have that. And I don't think I'll be able to have that for the rest of my life because I do have really bad allergies. But when that happened, I really, 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 really got down on myself. And I thought, man, you've had such a hard time trying to find people in your life to love you. Through your family, through old friends, through people you used to like or have a crush on. I've always felt like I came up short in the love department. And when I lost the one thing I loved, I thought, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve this love. Because I can't even have my dog. So I really must not deserve it. I must not ever get to experience what that feels like. And for me, Zeke was the only thing I've ever loved in my life. I said I love you to that dog more than I've said I love you to any single person in my life. Just in the short 4 years I had him. Woo! This is why we did not record a video. I'm sorry. Apologies, but I thought I didn't deserve it. I thought I really didn't deserve love after that. And then recently, I've also just been low to the point where the really, really bad thoughts creep in and stuff. And I'm not going to go into that, but I think you know what I'm saying when I say that. And that was really scary. And during all of this, I kind of said to myself, I said, I feel like throughout all this process, you know, I've been suffering, and I understand that the other people in my life, my close friends, my family, they have their own thing going on. And I get that. I 100% get that. But I had the realization of if I wasn't here anymore, I think there would be a lot of regrets from people in their lives for maybe not reaching out as much or reaching out, period. And then that just got me thinking that I feel in my life that I have loved people very fiercely and deeply, but the reciprocation of that is few and far between. The love that I give to the people that I love, and then I get that same love back, I have that. I for sure have that. I don't have that with maybe a lot of people in my life that I feel like I also should have that with. And I'm not putting any blame on anybody. I'm not even putting blame on myself. I understand that because these are my feelings and I'm allowed to feel my feelings, and that's okay. But I also understand that there are other people and my other people in my life, and they've got their own thing going on, and I totally get it. And we're just kind of also just bred further and further into this capitalistic society and this I don't call you on the telephone anymore society, or, you know, just a society that's less detached. So I also understand that as well. I'm saying all of this because when I was feeling all of this stuff, I'm unlovable. I don't deserve love. I can't even have, you know, something that I should have been able to have in my life. And I also don't feel the support that I feel that I give to others. I had this insane epiphany. And I thought to myself, no matter what, people are always going to disappoint you. And when I have needed / had those people in my life that I know that I could have relied on and they just weren't there for me, I need to understand that that's probably still going to happen. And it's nothing against me. It's just what people can give. And having that realization changed me, because I was on the precipice of just not wanting to be here anymore. I lost my tiny little love, my companion. I lost the notion and the idea that I could ever have a dog again in the future. And I went through a lot of heartbreak. And I went through a lot of pain silently. And people knew I was in pain. And again, people have their own lives, and I get it. And one of my friends even had said to me, she didn't want to bring up Zeke in conversation because she knew how sad it made me feel. And so it's like, God, I get it. I understand. But then looking at that from a bird's eye view, I still had to process things on my own. And that was hard. But that epiphany was huge for me because it made me realize that the only person who is going to help Kendra experience joy is me. And if that person or family member unintentionally has hurt me, I'm not going to carry that. And I'm not even going to have ill will or resentment towards them, because at the end of the day, that's just going to kill me. And I need to find my reasoning and my will to live. And after losing, and after grieving, and after losing some more, I've found my purpose. And it feels good. But I've also realized that I am going to fiercely, fiercely, fiercely show up for myself in ways that I've never done before. I already have been. But I'm going to show up more hard for myself in a way that when I'm feeling neglected by somebody, or a passing thought by somebody, or anything like that, I'm going to remind myself why I'm here. I do believe I'm here for others, and I do believe I'm here to serve others, and I do believe I am here to be friends with the people that I have in my life, and to hopefully strengthen other relationships in my family that I have. But I've realized that my purpose here will never be able to be fulfilled if I can't just fiercely love myself and pick myself up and say, it's okay. Even when it's not. Even when I feel let down and betrayed by someone, or even myself, or betrayed about, or let down about the fact that I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do in the past. I couldn't live in a van for longer than I wanted to. I couldn't have my dog. So anytime those just creep in, I'm just realigning. And honestly, it's really serving as fuel for myself to just remind myself, or say to yourself, if you're bummed about the inactions or actions of somebody or something in your life, to just circle that attention right back to me. That will always now serve as my fuel moving forward. Because I think when you've hit a place in life, and I had been there for a long time. I had been there for years of the self-loathing, the self-deprecating, the I'm unlovable, I'm all of these things. And then when what had happened to me recently, not being able to have my dog and having those feelings of, yeah, you really just aren't supposed to ever be loved, ever. That it shaped me. And had I had this happen to me maybe even a year or two ago, I can guarantee you, I wouldn't be like so motivated to just be better for myself in the future. I probably wouldn't. I would have really let that sink in, because that has been my narrative my whole life. You're not deserving of love. You're not deserving of care or time and attention from people. And you're certainly not deserving to have a companion like a dog. So that really was my narrative. And again, had this been a couple years ago and I had this happened, I don't know where I would be. But having said all of this, having experienced the past year of my life, I really am hopeful for the future. I'm hopeful for a different future for me. One where I am more accepting. I'm more loving to myself. One where I'm also more strong. One where I can also let my emotions come and go, but to not let those really sink me down. Yeah. So I guess there's some woo-woo advice for you at the end. If you really feel like you've got absolutely nothing in your corner, nothing to live for, nothing to be loved or have love, just remember that there is a life that is still worth living. Even if that is a single life, petless and relationshipless, there is still a beautiful life to have lived. And you know what? It's hard. It's hard to have that mentality that you can be happy and fulfilled on your own. And I'm still trying to debunk that for sure. I'm trying to stand corrected in my preconceived thoughts that I've had my entire life, that I will be sad and lonely if I don't have a person or a pet, a thing. But you can still have a beautiful life that is worth living if you don't have those things. And that's what I'm now trying to do. And if you're in that same position or a similar position, just know that you're not alone. And if you need to disappear from the world for 9 months, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Because not only just having yourself at the end of the day and showing yourself the love that maybe you don't get from others is just as powerful as taking the time and the space that you need for yourself. I've said this before and I'll say it again. You have the answers to whatever you are searching and desiring in this lifetime. You have the answers. I wasn't about to find my answers on TikTok. I wasn't even about to find my answers through my close group of friends. I needed to just get out. I needed to disappear. I needed to be by myself. I needed to be with my emotions. I needed to cry. I needed to feel my feelings. I needed to process everything that was going on around me. And you can't do that if you're filling your cup or your brain up with other things. So if you need to disappear from the world, know that no one's judging you. And I see what exactly you're doing. And I see that this means that you're putting in the hard work. You're putting in the work. And that work can only be done on your own. So here is your, I guess, okay, to disappear for a little bit if you need to and realign back to yourself and back to what you need. Take it for someone who's done it. 10 out of 10. We'll probably be doing it again because life is cyclical. The lows will come back, but I'm just appreciative of myself for taking this time to honor myself and honor my feelings and show up for myself in a way that I haven't really before. Woo! Well, well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always being here. Thank you for continuing to be here. And if you're showing up just to this episode, thank you for being here. What an episode to show up to. But, yeah. You'll be seeing more of me from the future. Bet your bottom dollar you will. Until then, take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. And honor whatever you're feeling. Always. Always, always, always. And if you ever want to be on the podcast, you know who to contact. Love you all.